Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Music Monday edition of Mocktails from the Cantina. Live, another round. I have to start off the show by saying thank you. Thank you to my Patreon members. It is hard to believe that I've almost been doing Mocktails for it's getting closer to the 2-year mark. And I've been doing the Patreon thing since the first week of January. Exclusive podcast episodes released weekly, inside the vault segments about all the film projects that I've worked on, little inside stories, artifacts, never before seen footage, inside the Wampa Cave, where I show many, many different pieces from my collection. I could not do it without you guys. I have 2 Patreon members on tonight that are part of the show. My good friend Tyler Page, who is always the technical director behind the scenes, and somebody that I'm having on the show who you guys are not a stranger to. He's not a stranger to you since you've been watching this show. This is the first time he's been on the show where there's probably been little to no work involved. And when I asked my guest, Mr. Glenn Nelson, to join the show tonight, he goes, yeah, let me know what songs you want me to play. Because go back and watch last year's Mocktails holiday episode. And Glenn just was amazing, as he always is, with all his talents. I'm looking forward to talking to him about music on the show, as it is Music Mondays. But without further ado, I like to always start the show with my warm-up act. My good friend, fellow Babu Freak, Patreon member, also, like I said, technical director, my good friend, Tyler Page. Tyler, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing well, I got the Monday blues, but, I got the show to warm me up. So it's good to be here.
That is good. And I hope, thank you to those that are watching via Facebook Live. Again, this is new to us. We're always just on YouTube. So hopefully we're curing your Monday blues. Now, Tyler, last time we did Music Monday, we had John on from Nerf Herder Council. Mm-hmm. And we did Metallica and Megadeth. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Christmas music. I do want to say that our brother Billy Mack is under the weather. I wish him well. He will be joining us next Monday to chat about holiday music. Tyler, you expressed to me when we went out for some beers the other night that you really are a big fan of Christmas, and I know you are a fan of music.
Yeah.
Do you indulge in the Christmas tunes at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've got Christmas in the Stars going nonstop. I listen to Christmas in Killarney by Bing Crosby quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a couple in the rotation that I'm sort of blanking on, but those are the big ones for me.
Now, there is holiday music for everybody out there. Chut, chut, and ho, ho, ho to Mr. Rich Brendel. He's tuning in tonight. There's holiday music out there for everybody. I just recently discovered that Rob Halford from Judas Priest has, I believe, 2 Christmas records out. I know awesome. That Dee Snider, of course, he's got a handful of holiday hits. I'm going to be chatting with Glenn Nelson in a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about prog rock Christmas.
Nice.
A lot of you guys know me and Glenn are big Yes fans. We're going to be talking about some of those Christmas albums. I wanted to ask you, Tyler, now, you got the advent calendar that I got, the Costco advent calendar. I am drinking a Bullet Old Fashioned tonight to just kind of knock out this 2-week cold that I have. So I skipped the beers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do that? You ever skip the beer in like day 7 of the advent calendar? You're like, oh, I got 3 in here to drink.
Yeah. I normally do that at least 2 or 3 times. I'm doing it today. So
what are you drinking? Are you drinking anything tonight?
I'm drinking a Corona seltzer. So
a Corona seltzer. So you're drinking a Corona seltzer, but you skip the advent calendar. You're gonna catch up on that in a couple of days. Like a lot of you guys, Patreon members, I just unloaded like 12 new pieces of content. My first complaint by a Patreon member, but he did say he loved it. He said, I can't keep up with all the content. So hopefully we can keep up with the advent calendar beers,
Yeah.
Hey, I want to bring on Glenn Nelson very, very shortly. Tyler, you got the Christmas in the Stars CD from me. Was that your first introduction to it?
Yeah. I didn't really. I mean, I'd heard about it, didn't really know what it was, and then I just popped it in the CD on the drive home, and it stayed there for another year. So
Now, were you listening to Christmas in the Stars, like let's say in August?
sometimes, if there's garbage on the radio.
Nice, yeah. You heard that during the pandemic. It's like people were putting up Christmas lights and listening to Christmas music like well before Christmas time, just because it got them in that good mood,
Mhm.
So, all right, Tyler, I'll check in with you later on in the show. Glenn Nelson. Without further ado, you guys have seen him on the show several times. Glenn, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for taking some time out.
Hello.
Of your busy schedule and chatting about some holiday tunes.
Let's talk Christmas music. Woo!
Now, listen. Now, Christmas in the Stars. This one here. This one here.
1980.
Came out in 1980. It's got the Ralph McQuarrie artwork on there.
Toy Factory.
What was your introduction to this album? I was not introduced to this until it came out on CD from Rhino Records in 1996. So we're talking 14 years after its release.
That's absolutely correct. And I had the same experience as you. Didn't know it existed. I didn't have the Mecco disco album either as a kid. I don't know how that got past me, but I was too busy listening to the Maestro, I suppose. J-Dub.
Now, do you have his Christmas album came out in 1980 with the Boston Pops.
Yeah.
I came across that probably in 2005. How about you?
Yes, same here. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm still listening to all of his sound. I was into soundtracks, I suppose, but then with the CD explosion, plus living in New York City at Tower Records, I was just exposed to a bajillion records. So credit card in hand, I went into Tower Records and probably bought that and the disco thing. And then, of course, some friends of ours play it as their theme song on a kind of a regular basis.
Yes, Jimmy Mack and Jason. Jimmy and Jason, RFR, they love the disco version of Star Wars.
Now loves disco. Gamorreans. You don't know that. It's true.
Gamorreans love disco.
Love disco.
No, I do know.
It was all disco all the time.
I do know that Steve Dahl, the Chicago DJ that Jimmy has ties to, he is not a fan of disco. As Tyler knows the history of the Chicago White Sox, they did Disco Demolition Night. Thank God I did not grow up on disco. I was like you, Glenn. I grew up on great music, mostly rock and roll. I recently discovered, not recently, but later on discovered classical and jazz. What are you drinking tonight, my friend?
Well, currently I have a Sam Adams Wicked Hazy open out here in New England where Sam still makes a good product. Later on, I might crack this, Chris, if things get crazy. If not, I'll save it for the next time I see you. It's called Why Does It Hurt When IPA? And I had this shipped in from California. It's made with a Zappa hop. Extremely limited, rare beer.
So, you know what? I think you've cracked that open on this show before, or I've seen that from you. Yeah, with the Zappa hop, why does it hurt when I IPA? Well, of course, if you're going to make it with the Zappa hop, you have to have that in the title, you know? So, yeah, what I wanted to do with you is, I know we want to talk about prog rock Christmas albums because, believe it or not, like I said, there's Christmas music out there for so many different lovers of so many different genres. One of the things that I really love to geek out on is like really good Christmas jazz albums. XM, real jazz, not the Kenny G, not the plastic bullshit, smooth jazz. I love real jazz on Sirius XM, channel 67. They do a lot of great old school jazz and new jazz. But Glenn, I want to hear from you. What are the top 3 like favorite Christmas albums of all time? I'll tell you what, you give me your third. We'll build up to the number 1.
Wait, hold on. Slow down. You told me that we're going to talk about favorite Christmas albums. You know, I have about 30,000 albums in my collection.
Right.
So 3 was not going to be enough. I made a longer list.
You made a longer list. Okay, okay. So, but I really want to know, like, what are the albums that you
All
like?
right. Well, I feel like you love Christmas music a lot.
I do. I started listening to it in the middle of November, and my wife, when we were at Disney World, my wife, when we were at Disney World, she's like, "You guys with the Christmas music." I'm like, "But it makes me feel good, you know." I'm a
Well,
Christmas music nut.
I feel like you're looking for a couple of new albums in your playlist. So I'm going to suggest to you a couple. I'll go quick, and I'll go quick to the top three.
Yes, yes.
All right. I got to mention a late entry this morning in my car. I played a Proggy Christmas.
Yes, you shared that with me. That is an amazing record, man. I burned that this morning.
Amazing. It's a gem. I bought it on a whim, and it's absolutely amazing prog rock.
You got Mike Pomeroy. Mike Pomeroy's on there. Steve Hackett's on there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the best of the best prog rock musicians on that album.
Fantastic album. Number 9. This is an album that I created with my kids at school back in 2002. And that year we won the elementary school of the year because we were putting out CDs and raising money for charity. That cherished that record. Moving quickly through the list now, we got Brian Wilson and What I Really Want for Christmas, 2005.
I know you said on the Machtails episode before you're a huge Brian Wilson fan.
Huge,
Smile.
yeah.
I know you're a big fan of Smile.
Huge Beach Boys fan, Brian Wilson fan. Huge. Christmas in the Stars falls at number 7, if I'm being honest.
Number 7. Okay, no, that's pretty high actually.
Pretty high. It's pretty hard to diminish its impact on all of us. Number 6, Bare Naked Ladies, Bare Naked for the Holidays.
Yes, hey, you know what? Hey, before you move on, okay, I want to say Happy Hanukkah to my Jewish friends. Tonight is the last day of Hanukkah, and this Bare Naked Ladies album, Glenn, that you're referencing, it not only has Christmas music, one of the best introductions to Jingle Bells, in my opinion, with that ethereal piano, and it just kind of kicks into like this crazy Bart Simpson kind of fanatic feeling to it. But there's a lot of Hanukkah songs on there as well, so it's definitely great for both holidays, in my opinion.
Album, and it has my favorite song on it is Elf's Lament. Moving on to number 5. I got to give it up for Neil Diamond. Has many Christmas albums, but my favorite one came out in 2009. It's a later, more mature Neil Diamond. It's called "A Cherry Cherry Christmas." And speaking of our friends who celebrate Hanukkah, it also has the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song on it, and it's an absolutely precious version of it. I watch the video every year. Number 4, well, Bing Crosby, White Christmas. This is for my mom, 1945.
Yeah, Bing Crosby's always a classic. Yes.
Yeah, that album exploded because it was the end of the 78 period of time, and it was the onset of the LP, and it was kind of a hip new thing that was happening in music, the LP, and White Christmas benefited from that big time. Also, and it just outsold every album like that whole year.
Wait, I'm sorry. You said that is what year?
1945.
Yeah, at 45, but it sold more copies.
That year it just dominated. Like maybe that decade it was. I was doing some research on it.
Okay,
dominated the LP market for years. Final 3. Let's see. Nat King Cole. I'm going to go Nat King Cole. The Magic of Christmas. It's been renamed 100 times. 1960. Again, my mom, who had so much influence on me growing up musically. Number 2, John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together.
Yes.
So many great songs on that record. If you don't know, well, now you know. And can you predict what my number 1? I even have it on LP. My number 1 Christmas
Yes, I have. Yes, because you shared this with me. I want to say, now I could be wrong, but you were the one that introduced me to this record. I had no idea. We did a Mocktails chat with you during the holiday season last year, and if you just ran through your top 10 and you didn't name it off, you got to say John Anderson's Christmas record.
John Anderson,
yeah,
3 ships on LP. Came out in 1985, right after, well, sort of in between 90125 and Big Generator.
Yes, which is crazy because
cool John looks. But yeah,
John looks so young on that recording. Yeah. And Glenn, I'm embarrassed to say that I was not familiar with that record. And I thank you for introducing me to that. And I know you and I are huge Yes fans. I know that I'm more into the older, the first 10 years. You might be a little bit more into the next 10 years. I feel like that John Anderson album, and for those of you that don't know, John Anderson is the singer of Yes. He's the singer of Yes. And that album, I was listening to that today. John's voice sounds the same as it did on the first Yes album that came out in 1969 that it did in 1985 on that Christmas record. But the music, in my opinion, is more reminiscent of that album, that Moneymaker, that Owner of a Lonely Heart, because it came out in 85. Like you said, it was in between those two big Yes records.
Yeah.
Now, Glenn, I got to tell you, going back to Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
I love Neil Diamond. His voice is amazing. I've always found it interesting that he's if I'm not mistaken, he's Jewish. He should be making Hanukkah songs instead of Christmas albums.
You know why?
Because of money. Because of money.
No, Neil himself, like he even says it, there are so many beautiful Christmas songs and so few beautiful Hanukkah songs. And like that's just how it is, man. Yes, you can say that. They are some of the most beautiful songs ever written. And by the way, man, I play Christmas music every year. Big part of my income as a piano player, and they are not easy to play. They are well written tunes, and that's why they stand the test of time. Plus, they're great melodies. Yeah. And for most people, it's very sentimental. Sentiment, something that we know about is nostalgia.
Yes, yeah. The thing about Christmas too is there's this huge element of nostalgia, and as you know, a huge music junkie like myself, there's something about music that really helps take us back in time into a moment of our life. And a lot of those Christmas records that you rattled off, they are not contemporary. And I feel, or most of them were not contemporary. And I feel that way. Christmas music that's nostalgia is during the holiday time, there's nothing like hearing Christmas music that we remember as a kid. And you know what? It's funny. I keep my Christmas CDs. Yes, I have Christmas CDs that I bring out every year. I keep them in a Che Guevara case. Che Guevara CD case. And I got to open this up. I don't know if I'm going to do 10, Glenn. I have more than 10 in here. But speaking about nostalgia, one recording that I listened to, and Glenn, this was not on your top 10, and I'm a little disappointed because you performed some of these songs.
There were runners up.
Dude, this is Vince Guaraldi. I said I'm a big jazz guy.
Sure.
Vince Guaraldi's Charlie Brown Christmas.
It's in the book.
There is something about this record. I can listen to this a million times and still not get sick of it. The interesting thing about this CD, this recording, is that the last half of it isn't even on the Christmas special.
Sure.
Yeah. This ranks up in your top 15 or your top 20?
I've performed all those songs with my kids at school. I absolutely adore that album, but they couldn't all make the cut. I mean, I'll do a top 20 list if you want me to.
I'm sure you could do a top 50 list. Now, it was funny because I was gonna take turns, but you just ran through your list. Hey, Glenn, I gotta ask you something. Are you the kid on Christmas morning, or maybe the parent that's like, "Hey, kids, open your gifts," and it's like over in like 5 seconds? Or do you guys take turns with the Christmas gifts and kind of drag out the morning?
We milk it. We milk it for hours, dude. Stop, make a drink, open a present, coffee, make a drink, open a present.
Yeah, get breakfast and then make a drink and then go back to the
everyone's playing their toys. Come back, do it again. It goes all day. It's exhausting.
I got to chime in. Antonio from New Jersey, big Patreon supporter. He says, Glenn, your list is killing it. He's a huge music fanatic as well. And then He says, how about some Phil Spector love? You know, Jimmy Mack is a huge fan. Jimmy Mack, good friend of ours from Rebel Force Radio. He, of course, is a huge fan of Phil Spector. Me, not so much. I there's something about him. I respect his talents, but I don't really have a craving for it. Glenn, how do you feel about Phil Spector's work and connections?
His influence on Brian Wilson, tremendous. Thank God he had that impact on Brian Wilson. Of all the Beatles books that I've read, he wasn't great for the Beatles. So 50-50 on him.
50-50 on him. Okay. Going back to the old days. Now, this guy's been around for a long time. I highly recommend this album. I actually love being on Rebel Force Radio back when it was, the Force Cast. I would always end up at Jimmy's house with a pint in my hand, getting ready to record a late December show. And we ended up talking about music on the Star Wars show, which was great. This guy, Jorma Kaukonen, he is the guitar player for the Jefferson Airplane, not connected with the Jefferson Starship during the holiday special, because he went on to do Hot Tuna with Jack Cassidy, the bass player. They were more blues, power trio driven rock, where Jefferson Starship, went more to the pop charts. Jorma's album is amazing. This is my top 3. I had seen Hot Tuna at the House of Blues in 1996. This album came out. I bought this album there. Along with that same year, I bought Christmas in the Stars. I bought James Brown Christmas. I bought the Vince Guaraldi Christmas CD. Those are CDs that I still listen to this day. And his version of Green Sleeves, What Child Is This, whatever song title you want to give it, is amazing. Gives me goosebumps, makes my eyes water. It's definitely music to listen to put up the Christmas tree. Glenn, are you familiar with Jorma's work?
I am now, thanks to you, brother.
Well, you know what? It's good because me and you, we learn a lot from each other because there's so much music out there.
We're sharing albums.
The last one, top one, this is kind of a silly one. Not the music on it, but okay, True Value. Tyler works for Ace, and I've always been confused. True Value Hardware would put out these compilation albums. And I don't know if that's a regional thing. I don't know if that's a U.S. thing, the hardware store. But this thing was on cassette. And from cassette, I had it burned to a CD. And this thing, I don't know, came out probably like 1987. It's volume 24 in the True Value collection. But I gotta rattle off the songs here. This thing is like a Star Wars soundtrack. There is no bad moment in this. It starts with Jackson 5, Give Love on Christmas Day. Then it goes into Jack Jones, Burl Ives, who I've recently learned he was blacklisted because of his ties to the Communist Party with Pete Seeger. Just a great, great story. He kind of sold out because he wanted to save his music career. I think he made the right choice, but he pissed off all the folk artists because he was not standing by his beliefs. Glenn, I heard you crack open that beer. Did you crack open the Why Does It Hurt When IPA?
No, damn it.
My favorite things by Diana Ross, Deck the Halls, which is a cappella version by the Trap Family Singers, Bing Crosby, God rest you merry gentlemen, then Lee Greenwood, the Mr. America.
Yeah.
Let It Snow, who I actually got a chance to work with in the music business. That's kind of a crazy story. Noel by the Miracles, Santa Claus Is Coming to Town by Bing, again, which was featured in the Christmas Story soundtrack. But listen to the way that it closes out. It closes out with Carrie Fisher's dad singing, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And he does not hang a shining star, my friends. He muddles through. And then it goes to this next instrumental version by Roger Williams, the piano player. I don't know, Glenn, if you're familiar with Roger Williams. He does a version of the Christmas song, and then it closes out with Ave Maria by a trumpet player called Rafael Mendez. And by the time this CD is over, I am in Waterworks City. Such a heavy record. So if you guys are looking for nostalgia and to connect with your emotional side during a holiday season, I recommend just YouTubing all those artists and listening to all those versions of those songs. Glenn, let's go back to prog rock. Not only did John Anderson from Yes come out with your top #1 favorite Christmas album, but Rick Wakeman put out at least 2. And I found out today, I'm late to the party, my friend, Chris Squire put out a Christmas record. What are your opinions on those? I know they were not in your top 10 list.
Yeah. Wakeman did an album of piano, he did a whole bunch of solo piano albums, and that was one of them. And he does like Christmas tours and plays those songs. It's mostly solo piano. I don't think Rick ever did a full prog rock album with Christmas, but not only, Chris Squire put out Run with the Fox in 1980 with Alan White. Before they found Trevor Rabin and formed the 90125 lineup of Yes, they were kind of goofing around, and they did Run with the Fox, which is a single. And that a few years prior to that, Greg Lake did one of my favorite songs, I Believe in Father Christmas.
Yes. Now, did Greg Lake put out a whole album, or was it just that one song?
It was a single, yeah.
Just a single, okay.
Mm-hmm. It was a single, and then Run with the Fox was the Yes kind of answer to that, I suppose you could say. Yeah, but then of course the crowning jewel is John Anderson's magnificent album. It's just that I don't get a lot of albums out on a regular basis during the holidays. I just kind of keep grinding with whatever music I'm listening to. But
yeah, sure.
That album was listened to me several times today. I use it in my teaching too. I use that album in my teaching because there's some wonderful parallel fifths in it. And then they keep modulating. And I played it today with my kids at school. It's just that's
inspired by the Alan White and Squire recording.
No, I don't know. I don't really know what John just hooked up with this producer. Can't think of his name. It's on the record. But they just did this one-off record, man. It's great. And it's very, very 80s and synthy. Lots of Simmons drums. Okay. Lots of 80s keyboards.
Yeah.
I wish Rush did a Christmas album or Christmas.
Yeah. Now,
he was Jewish.
That would be amazing if Rush had answered to yes, because you got Emerson, Lake and Palmer, right? Greg Lake, and then you have Yes answering. All 3 members of Yes answered to the Christmas recording because they all had one. It would have been nice if Rush at least put out one Christmas song.
Oh well, Neil was kind of an atheist, I suppose, and Alex was probably too stoned to care. So
well, no. I don't know if Neil was he an atheist or was he more of didn't he become like a Buddhist at some point?
He just if his lyrics are to believe, he doesn't believe in the stars or the planets or angels watching from above, but he believes that there's a ghost of a chance we can find someone to love and make it last. Cheers to Neil Peart.
Yeah, cheers to Neil Peart, man, and everybody else in Rush. Amen to that. So the Rick Wakeman album that came out before the piano album, he put out one in 2000. I want to say that one was called Christmas Variations.
Yes, that's the solo piano album. So I think there may be 2 piano albums. Yes, he loves
there's more of a synth one, and then there's more of a piano one, of course.
Oh yeah, one of them could be symphonic. You're right. I didn't really have time to research those 2 albums today, but they're not in my tops because Wakeman, I like Wakeman's rock albums. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen
right.
come on. I mean, his last album was great. The Red Planet was great. I bought every version of it, vinyl, cassette, Blu-ray, everything I could
Yeah,
buy.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I think the thing about
it's just
especially
ugly.
the Rick Wakeman Christmas album is like when you put it in, you're like, oh my God, it's Rick Wakeman doing Christmas music. But then by the fourth song, it's like, okay, it's the same.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
it's
You know,
he has this incredible melodic style that I've tried to copy over the years. Um, you know, um, he was a huge influence on me. It cannot be understated the impact that Rick Wakeman, even more than Keith Emerson. I mean, Keith Emerson was so beautiful in his playing and his writing, but nobody plays like Keith Emerson. It's like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to play like Glenn Gould or
right,
um,
right.
one of those guys, or Bruce
You know,
Hornsby. I'll just play like that guy because But like some of these people are just better than me.
well, it's kind of funny because I remember going to the Primus concert, and Primus, uh, I think they reference, yes, they do reference Santa Claus in, was it Groundhog's Day? Is it Groundhog's Day? Who would cry more if Santa Claus didn't come? Who would cry more, the child or the store? Anyways, I'm referencing Primus lyrics from like the
Just
first
saw them
album.
too.
But when Tyler and I went to the Primus concert, that guy, like Rush, like Yes, they started their careers off so good. How do you get? I always feel like, and I don't want to stray too far away from the Christmas conversation of music, but to tie it back to Rush, I feel like Rush started off so grand that by the time their career was coming to a plateau, and they were all into this synth stuff, all those guys like really took their talents and just kind of toned it down. You know,
Are you knocking on the Rush keyboards again, man?
I am not. No.
I
The
am
Rush
so
keyboard
tired of
era.
hearing people knock.
No,
I
no.
read all the Rush
Dude,
books.
the Rush keyboard era
I
is
read all the Rush books, and everyone like, yeah, well, that was at the time in the '80s, and any Rush fan out there knows this is true. The keyboards are what made Rush awesome, and that's what grabbed me in the '80s was the keyboards primarily because Geddy's voice was an acquired taste when you were young, like
yes,
14 years
yes.
old, and
Well,
getting into music.
I also think too that the thing about Rush was that uh they were a band that was smart enough to progress and change with the times, as well as Yes, maybe not so much Yes, but definitely Rush. And I think if Rush kept doing what they were doing, instead of the keyboard era, I don't believe that band would have had the longevity like they had. So no, I definitely am not knocking on the Rush
I'm
keyboard era
kidding. I
by
love it.
any means. But when I listen to those first,
Sorry that we fought.
oh no, it's Christmas time, man. We're making up easily.
Hold on. Amen to that.
Amen to that. Yes, sir.
Hey,
But
can I make a one more Rush comment?
mhm.
Well, all the Rush fans, I'm sure many of your watchers are Rush fans. If you have a Rush shaped hole in your heart, I recommend you check out this band, Why Not? They're from California. They are a female fronted Rush. Well, they started out as a female fronted Rush tribute band who developed their own albums and own originals. This is their third album. I just got it. All three other albums are killer. She's awesome. Rocky, the lead singer. She is her like voice is full of pain and beauty, and she crushes Rush tunes. And her originals are great. They're great. So go check out Why Not to fill up that little Rush hole in your heart.
That is a good recommend. It's a good recommendation. Why not? Obviously, a play on YYZ. I'm assuming.
Correct. Zed or whatever.
I want to go back to the Chris Squire record real quick.
Right. So to finish that story, he was then encouraged by I think his wife to finish the project, and so in his final few years, Chris was able to finish an entire album of Christmas songs, in which that song it was re-recorded and re-released with a whole album called Swiss Choir.
So
And
you're okay. So let me get this straight and connect the dots. The recording that he did with Alan White, you said in 1980
Yeah,
or the early 80s, around
post drama era.
post drama,
Yeah,
post Greg Lake's I Believe in Father Christmas. That was the answer to. That did not end up on the album until the Swiss Choir.
Choir.
You say?
Bingo.
Wow, that's crazy. Talk about connecting the dots. One thing that I loved about listening to that Chris Squire record, and Chris Squire, the late great Chris Squire, the amazing bass player from Yes, who actually was one of Geddy Lee's few influences. Not too many people could influence Geddy Lee, except I'm sure the Beatles did at some point. The Beatles influenced everybody, and they have a whole slew. I know George Harrison, I believe, had a Christmas album. They did these Christmas tapes for the fan club. But Chris Squire's record, the thing I loved about it was the choir. And there's something about Christmas music with the choir, that classical element, which is obviously a heavy influence in prog rock, that just, it sounds like angels singing to me. And I that first listen through that Chris Squire record was amazing. I definitely put it above the Rick Wakeman records.
You have to thank George Frederick Handel for adding the choir to Christmas music.
Yeah, it was. You said Handel, yes.
Handel, yes. Handel.
Yeah, that is the
Maestro.
that is where Christmas music had originated from, which is amazing, because to me, classical music is still, Glenn, you have to agree with this as a composer that you are. There's something about classical music that blows everything out of the water, since its inception. I mean, there is nothing more complicated and more progressive and more timeless.
What is progressive rock if not symphonic? What is rock if not progressive?
Without classical, that is getting it down to a very, very geeky level with music. For you music lovers out there, now some of you guys might just stick to, like, hey, what's on the radio? I'm going to listen in Chicago. We have 93.9 The Light. It's just all the traditional Christmas songs that you hear over and over and over again. But there's so many good Christmas records out there. I named 3. Glenn named 10. We talked about a couple in the middle. Now, Glenn, I want to ask you, I got my first music instrument, I want to say it was Christmas of 1988. It was a knockoff of the Gibson SG, the guitar that Tony Iommi from Sabbath plays, Angus Young plays. The guitar strings were that far away from the neck. My mom had no idea what she was doing, but that was kind of like my introduction to, playing music. How about you, man? I know your mom raised you on music. Did you get any music instruments for Christmas, or was there one record that you got that wasn't Christmas related? Christmas morning, we were like, "Oh my God, I got the Brian Wilson Smile vinyl."
Well, I have 2 answers to both those questions. Anyway, from one of the earliest musical memories I have of Christmas, I remember vividly, was in 1977 when we received the vinyl LP version of the Star Wars soundtrack. I remember vividly holding it in my hands, and on the front was just the logo on black, and on the back was like Darth Vader's face in a field of stars. We've all seen that record, of course, and of course the inside with all the pictures, and I believe there was a book in the original release. And come on, that's all we didn't have much else at that Christmas, and I was 6. And I also got Sean Cassidy, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. AB. But the first musical instrument, that was a great question. I had to think about that for a second. I think when I was about 10 years old and I was a couple years into piano lessons, I had evolved to like a music store. My mom was bringing me for weekly piano lessons at this music store called Valley Music in Avon, Connecticut. And they had a couple of synths. They had some Casios. Casios back then. That would have been like 1981, 82, 81. They had the Casio MT41, which you guys can Google. And it had everything, man. It was like to me, it was like everything. It was because I was listening to Asia. Oh, okay, that's what it was. Because it was. So I was 11 in 82. That's what it was. And of course, Asia was the first infectious sound that hit my ears. Little did I know the members of that band comprised a super group of every band that I would end up loving.
Yeah, amen to that, man.
Keyboards in Asia, huge influence. Again, Jeff Downs, Steve Howe, Carl Palmer, John Wetton, all huge influences. Yeah, so I the MT41. I prayed for it. I literally was like, please, 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 please give me that keyboard, please, please, please. That would change everything. I could start a band with a keyboard like that. And if you Google it, it's really kind of a piece of junk. But I could start a band with that, the keyboard. That would make me cool. Like I could finally be cool and be a rock star.
How old were you at this time?
11, yeah.
Okay, you were 11. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to like put on the Michael Jackson Thriller jacket for Christmas in 1984. That's what I thought was cool. But you were ahead of me, my friend, because your mother, as you said, she played music, correct?
Yeah.
She played music. Yeah. My parents just loved music. They did not play music. There we go, man.
It has the bass keys. Look, I can play left-hand bass. It was a dream come true. It had an octave and a half of bass keys. It had 5 sounds and 5 styles at least. Tempo, volume, and everything. Oh God!
I mean, even that graphic there looks old school.
Nice job.
Throwback. The Casio tone. So and you got that for Christmas.
Oh, I got it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And of course, a few years later, I'm like, this thing sucks. Like I can't be the band with this thing, this piece of garbage. I need a real keyboard.
Well, it's cool. It's crazy, and it's cool that you remember getting the LP, the record for the first Star Wars soundtrack. Because I grew up with Star Wars, obviously, but I did not have the soundtrack.
I did
as a part of my life. I mean, and again, that's why when I rediscovered Star Wars in '92. It was one of those things where it's like, I got to get the box set, because the box set came out on CD. It was like a 4-disc set that had come out, I want to say, at the end of '92. And, a lot of this music too, like the Star Wars Christmas in the Stars, they came out in 1980. It was out of print. It was never released until 14 years later. Now for some of you guys that are wondering, how can I listen to Christmas in the Stars? You can go to YouTube and listen to this. But 2 years ago, they put out this version on CD. They put out 3 different copies. And I am kicking myself in the ass because I only had 2. This is a silver, as Burl Ives once sang in the Rudolph soundtrack. Silver and gold. But I don't have the red one. And the red one, they only made 500 copies of these CDs, and I bought 2, and I'm like, well, I don't need 3 copies of this, but now I have FOMO on that. Now, for some of you at home that don't know what vinyl looks like, this is the RSO first pressing of What Can I Get a Wookiee for Christmas? When he already owns a comb. Now, Glenn, you said that was on your top 10. What is your favorite song on this album? And I want to get into the history of this a little bit more before we close out the show. What's your top 2 favorite songs on this?
Christmas in the Stars is kind of hard to beat, but and of course,
it's the show opener, right? Anthony Daniels is singing. It's like, oh my God!
The Wookiee comb anthem, and then, of course, let's not forget young John Bon Jovi.
Yes.
Saying, R2D2, I love you, or whatever it was.
Yeah, R2D2. This is the B side now of the anthem, as you say. What can you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already owns a comb? And of course, they took that shot from Empire Strikes Back. And the B side is John. The B side is John Bon Jovi, not the A side.
Oh, sorry, that was E.T. We Love You. Sorry, I got my genres confused.
Well, no, this is R2D2. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Do you know
I heard
E.T. We Love You? This is a deep cut for like 80s nostalgia buffs. Buckner and Garcia, the Pac-Man Fever record guys.
Okay.
They never got a second LP out, but they did a single called E.T. I Love You.
E.T. I Love You.
Buckner
And that was
Garcia.
not sang by okay, help me connect it down to my brother. Neil Diamond, I remember as a very, very young boy. E.T. was a fantastic movie.
That was Heartlight by Neil Diamond.
Heartlight, yes. That was not in the soundtrack.
No, that was also 82 though. But this thing was 83 when Pac-Man Fever came out. So probably it was right after that they did the follow-up bonus single, like an unreleased B-side.
You're getting your nostalgia all in a bind here, and I'm the one that's drinking.
There are a couple of essential albums. If you want true nostalgia, you've got to own Buckner and Garcia, Pac-Man Fever. It's got to be in your LP collection. Not to mention Flash Gordon Queen soundtrack. It's got to be.
That's a great one,
be in your vinyl collection.
I remember watching that. Do you remember before cable there was on TV? It was like cable before cable.
Yeah.
I remember the Flash Gordon film, and I remember the Queen song in that film. That was amazing.
The whole soundtrack is fantastic. I mean, it fueled my childhood. Like we played to it. That sounds weird. Like
no, you know what? I think it
showed
that
Flash Gordon to that music.
Star Wars wasn't the only thing that controlled us. It was other things.
Music was great, man. music, man. And if you can find any of that Stu Phillips stuff, man, Galactica, Buck Rogers, all that stuff is so good, so classic and good. And I think Mecco did a Galactica record. Am I not mistaken? Someone can fix me online and tell me out there. Someone or some Italian prog guy did a Battlestar disco album. So that's something else you can look for.
I will have to check that out. Like I said, I never got into disco. But it's always fun to check out the some of the music out there for nostalgia. Now, again, Glenn, just to kind of connect the dots. Yes, this is R2D2. We wish you a Merry Christmas. The B side of this, what do you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already owns a comb? That was saying, you got that right. That was sang by John Bon Giovanni. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Now, his uncle was the producer.
Yeah.
On that record. I always wanted
sweeping floors.
Yeah. I want to walk up to a Bon Jovi fan and go, do you know John Bon Jovi's debut recording? Because I believe I'm not.
It was Runaway,
Yeah. Anyway, it was years before Runaway. So I'm wondering,
years before Runaway.
Would you have the success of Bon Jovi if it wasn't for the Star Wars Christmas record? I don't know. I'm sure you would have, because his uncle was a producer, but I think it's really cool. For those of you that don't know that, you can probably get all this music that Glenn has talked about that you must check out. Some of the stuff that I've referenced. If you can't find this stuff anywhere, you don't have a record player, you don't have a CD player anymore, you can't buy the CD because it's out of print again for the 12th time. I swear, every time Christmas in the Stars got released, it was in print for just a short minute. But you can YouTube this stuff. Glenn, what is on your Christmas wish list? You got one gift. What is on it, my brother?
One gift.
And you can't say world peace.
Oh, wow. I have to say I've had a pretty good year. I picked up a couple new synths and pretty happy. Some material goods. I'm pretty good. I would like. This is gonna sound horrible and corny, but I would like sort of things to go back to normal in the world. But
Yeah, you know what? I agree with that. Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that whatever. That is what it is. Um, but let's be serious. You're asking about something that the friends will enjoy out there. Um, Gosh, well, you know what I just got? It's sort of like Christmas came early at my house. Do you know what I just bought myself? This is going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I did buy myself an early Christmas present. I kind of already got it. And if I could take my computer in the other room, I would do so right now. And I would show you, if I could walk you to the other room, I just built the 9,000 piece Lego Titanic. It took
Lego Titanic.
9,000 pieces. It's their second largest set they've ever built. And it's
So,
as long as my arms. It took like 3 guys, me and my friend Dave and the other Dave.
oh my God.
It took us 10 straight hours to build it on a
10
Sunday.
straight hours to build a Lego Titanic. Now I got to ask you, okay, what is their biggest piece? And two, do you have the Death Star Lego? And three, why did you buy the Titanic and not the Death Star Lego?
That's a great question. I kind of stopped buying Lego a long time ago because I just there was like the kids were just older and we just didn't really build Legos anymore. But I always told myself I've always loved the Titanic. I even have a song on YouTube called "The Death of the Titanic," and I've always loved it. Fascinating subject, like Beach Boys or Beatles or any rabbit hole that you go down. You're like, wow, this is so interesting. I've read books on it and really interested in it. So anyway, I just said, well, if they ever build one, or put one out, I want to have it and build it. So it was 9,000 pieces. It was huge. The box is huge. And my friend, it was so hard to get. My friend Dave had to sleep in the mall twice. He had to camp out the mall. First time he missed it by like one ticket.
Because it was that popular.
I guess. Well, Lego popular. Titanic is popular. Yeah. Anyway, I built it, and I'm bringing it to school tomorrow to display it in my school.
Wow, 10 straight hours to build.
It's absolutely. Chris, it's absolutely breathtaking. And each time I walk past it, it's right over there. Each time I walk past it, I just go, it's breathtaking. It's like the detail. It is huge. And
do you have the Death Star Lego?
Okay, well, I just that's just it. I don't buy a lot of Lego. That was my one big thing I wanted.
Now, I gotta ask you, man. You might not be able to say this. How much did you spend on yourself for Christmas buying that gift?
Is my wife in the other room? A lot. You can Google that too. Don't disturb me.
Yes, everything's on the internet, right? The what was it? RSMP? Is that what they call it?
RMS Titanic.
Yeah, it's the manufactured price. The retail price.
Yeah, right. GRP or whatever.
Yes. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight, dude. And at this point, I don't feel like it would be Christmas without you. Do you have anything that you could send us out with on this holiday version of Music Monday Mocktails from the Cantina? And thank you to everybody that has joined us at home watching this show. We really, really appreciate it. And Glenn, I'm right with you, my friend. I would love everything to get back to normal. I really would.
Yep, me too. Well, let's have an amen to that.
Amen to that.
Everybody, please, amen to that. We all want the same thing.
We all want the same thing.
And I would say if you want to hear something, if you want to do any further research on Glenn Nelson's love of Christmas music, I would say jump over to my SoundCloud right now. I'm not hyping my SoundCloud, but one of the most recent things I put up was one of my favorite obscure Christmas hits of all time is the song Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey.
Yes, Nestor. Yes.
And I sing a version of that on my SoundCloud for y'all.
Can you play that for us as we say goodbye to you for the evening?
No, I cannot. You told me to prepare for Christmas music, and I did.
Hey, you know what?
Nestor, but go to my SoundCloud. It's soundcloud.com/Glenn Nelson. Ba-boom! Ba-boom freaks! Woo!
Thank you to Tyler Page for I was still waiting for that Lego Titanic to show up.
Listen, Tyler, run over to my Facebook page and go grab the picture of the Titanic, and we can close on that.
But I got to tell you, Nestor, the long-haired donkey, that is a undiscovered or forgotten about Rankin Bass gem. You know, Rankin Bass, they did all the classics. They did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They did Rudolph Shiny New Year. They did Frosty the Snowman. I mean, you guys know Rankin and Bass. We talked about them not only on the Christmas show last year, but we talked about Rankin and Bass on the January episode. So if you guys have not seen that, go back to YouTube, type in Mocktails from the Cantina. That would be episode 21. Glenn, I can't believe we've done so much content, and I'm so thankful that you are not only a Patreon supporter, my brother, a Kickstarter supporter. It all started when you picked me up at the airport back in 2009. There's that Lego Titanic. Oh my God, that's like something that I would see. Oh my, that is crazy.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful.
There is a place in Long Beach, right by Long Beach Arena, where they have the, I swear they have something like this in a museum. Glenn, you must have paid a pretty fortune for that thing.
Christmas came early, Chris, like I said.
And that looks like your wife in the background there.
That is Sue, yeah.
Crazy, man, crazy. Well, hey, Glenn, again, thank you so much, my brother. Tell your family, tell your wife, your kids, and to have a Merry Christmas. And thank you, my friend, so much. Guys, remember, follow us on Patreon. Become a Patreon member like Glenn Nelson, like Tyler Page, like Andy from Miami, like Antonio from New Jersey, like Rich Brendel, and John Zancanaro from Wisconsin. I got them all over the place. I could not do this show. I can't do this show without you, but I would not want to do this show without you. So, hey, Glenn, you can't end it with Jingle Bells? You can't play a little Jingle Bells for us?
All right, here we go. Wakeman style.
Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Nelson, you will not get that on the Music Monday edition with Billy Mack. Maybe you'll get it on guitar, but you definitely will not get it on piano. I want to thank my guest tonight, Glenn Nelson, for joining us. I want to thank you guys that watch this on Facebook. I want to thank you guys that watch this on YouTube. And obviously, I want to thank and worship and praise my Patreon supporters for keeping the fuel burning inside. We will catch you guys next time on Mocktails from the Cantina. So long, everybody.